Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1987. We're going to be taking a look at Jennifer Warnes and Bill Medley. They're going to be performing The Time of My Life. And this is going to be sung over a backing track, but we do have live vocals here. So let's get Jennifer and Bill up on screen and see how they get on.
The time of my life. No, I never felt like this before. Yes, I swear it's so true, and I owe it all to you.
'Cause I've had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
I've been waiting for so long. Now I finally found someone to stand by me. Alone.
We saw the writing on the wall as we felt this magical fantasy.
Now with passion in our eyes, there's no way we could disguise it secretly. So we take each other's hand, 'cause we seem to understand the urgency. Just remember,
You're the one thing
oh, that I can't get enough of.
and so I tell you something.
This could be love, because time of my life. No, I never felt this way before. Yes, I swear it's a truth, and I owe it all to you. Hey, baby.
I'm just going to jump in here. This was a huge hit in the 80s. It is the sound of the 80s, especially with Jennifer, because this being so closely linked and being on the soundtrack of Dirty Dancing, a huge film in its own right and a massive success. But then this song went so well with it, and for reasons that we are going to be exploring in this video, why it was such a great mix from the film and the composition, and they just went hand in hand. When I say that Jennifer is the sound of the 80s, she also did a collaboration, a duet with Joe Cocker, and that was Up Where We Belong. And again, that was with another film, An Officer and a Gentleman, and a massively successful film with a song that just matched it perfectly again. So I think a lot of it is to do with Jennifer Warnes' vocal ability, because with the first line of this song, she's straight in with a lesson in control and vibrato, and just showing you such a different expression on I've and had. The had has got a little bit more vocal chord closure to it, but so much more vocal expression than the I've that she's previously said. So just in 2 words, she can blow you away with her vocal technique, and we're nowhere near into the song yet, but you know straight off the bat that Jennifer has got some serious vocal skills just by hearing one note. Let's mention Bill Medley as well, having that bass vocal range, and the Righteous Brothers, of course. I've done a couple of videos on them, so you can check them out independently if you want to. But here, we've got this spanning of an octave at least, with the difference in range that we have between the artists, which means that we can go to so many different places dynamically, but just literally pitch-wise with the 2 voices. Obviously, it helps that they're top vocalists being able to harmonize with each other. They've got such distinctive voices as well. I just want to touch on why this song was such a perfect match for that Dirty Dancing movie, not only from a compositional perspective, but from an artistic perspective of who is singing this song and how it relates to the narrative of the movie. Because in the movie we have Patrick Swayze, who's an older guy and is a dancer and is looked up to by Jennifer Grey, who also gets into the dancing side of things, but she's a lot younger. So when you're trying to translate that into music and how that would sound, you would take a guy who has a deep voice and is very male sounding, and then a female who has a lot higher range, and it's exactly what we have here with Bill and Jennifer. So we've got an immediate sound musically of what you would have if, say for example, Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey were to sing in the movie. So getting into this performance and the way that Bill does so well in the intro, as you know on the original song, it comes straight in with Bill's vocal, and when you're singing to a backing track, you've got no warning of when that backing track is starting, and also it is so low dynamically with such a light sound. Hearing that above people applauding is going to be a nightmare, but Bill just manages to save the day and come in so close to the beginning of the song so that his vocal phrases aren't at all compromised by the fact that you can't really hear what's going on. So Bill's professionalism just straight off is so good and so impressive. The dynamics, referring to that because the intro is so quiet, and this is the whole thing about this song. It is so well arranged and composed that we've got such an interesting journey and all of these peaks and troughs in the dynamics, and that's what makes a hit, and that's what we'll be looking at a little bit further on. The subtlety of changes that Jennifer can go through with her voice, just sometimes flipping up into that really light head voice sound and then just connecting those vocal cords a little bit more. There is endless expression in Jennifer's voice, and that's what comes across not only on the recording but live here. She doesn't miss a beat, is pitch perfect the whole time. And talking about the dynamics, obviously going through this song, we've got the classic case that you'll find in so many hits where you get more and more instruments being added in to increase that dynamic range, to effectively give you a more dramatic sound, going from a really quiet verse like here, going into then the pre-chorus where we might just get a snare but no hi-hat, and then building up into the chorus where everything is now all in. So you'll have backing vocals, you'll have the full drum kit with the snare on 2 and 4 of the bar, you'll be getting the vocals, and everybody's now really laying into the vocals. It's not a light head voice sound or any falsetto. In the chorus as well, we do have the introduction of a shaker, and it sounds like maracas going on, so they're driving the whole song along in the chorus, but then of course, after the chorus, you want to then bring it back down again. So listen out for that. After the first chorus and the second chorus, we then go into the saxophone solo, but then it comes down again for a really held back medley effectively, and that medley, or bridge as it's also called, isn't different chords which you'll often find with other compositions. It's just a very light version of the chorus. Putting the spotlight on this composition as a whole, anybody that watched my James Brown video will remember the term syncopation, and when you've got syncopation written into the composition where you get a lot of accents not on the beat but off the beat, it gives you this lifting feeling, and it makes you want to dance, because when you lift your leg, like I said, if you are stomping out the beat with your foot, when your foot's in the air, that'll be an offbeat. So it makes you want to dance and jump because it feels like you are in the air for that part of the bar. And we've got that here, the syncopation with the bass run. It just sounds really funky. There is an element of funk in the bass line that we've got, but also we get choppy guitar rhythm going on, which is also syncopated. There's so much that's just on the offbeat. It keeps it so energetic, like you want to dance. It's exactly what you want to hear with a song that is going to be put on a movie called Dirty Dancing. So things to look out for with the composition, dynamically the way that we change, starting off in the intro and the verse really understated, picking up into the pre-chorus, and by the time we get to the chorus we're all in. And this is where, once you've hit that peak in the chorus, for the second verse you want to come back down again, but you want to have something that distinguishes it from the first verse, because you want the journey to continue and evolve. So in this second verse, we now have the snare coming in on 4, and it's the 4th beat of the bar, is what I'm referring to there. When it comes in on 4, it doesn't then come in on 2 because it's just been coming in on 2 and 4 in the chorus, so it wouldn't have really changed much. You want to bring it down by taking out a snare, which is exactly what happens, and there is a hi-hat on 2 as well. So we still drive along, and we didn't have this in the first verse, but it's just something that's been added in ever so slightly after that first verse to make it different. This is something that you'll start to notice in all compositions, even though we're looking at the pop genre here, taking everything down after that first chorus to give you a run up to the second chorus, because if you're just all out the whole time, there's no dynamics, it's not a journey, and it gets boring very quickly. So by bringing it all down and starting to introduce some strings in that second verse that are a lot more prominent now, means that we're still making an interesting journey for the listener. We're going to a different place that we didn't hear in that first verse. So we have that same ascension into the second chorus, and now in the second chorus, because the first chorus had everything in, what can you do? You can open the hi-hat a little bit more on the second chorus, and also with this composition, we've got the overdubs, or should I say the ad-libs of the singers' voices in the background, low in the mix. So it means now we've actually got 2 of Bill Medley and 2 of Jennifer Warnes singing in that chorus, but it's mixed in such a way that it's subtle, it's in the background, but now you've got even more voices in there, not to mention all of the backing vocals that are in there as well. We're going to be getting back into the video now, but once we've watched it until the end, I'm going to get the guitar out just to show you a few concepts of the composition that are going on and how well written this song is, and why it was such a monster hit, because there is so much in there that is so cool musically. But let's get back into this.
With my body and soul, I want you more than you'll ever know.
So we'll just let it go. Don't be afraid to lose control. No, no, no.
Yes, I know what's on your mind when you say, stay with me tonight.
Stay with me and remember, you're the one thing
I can't get enough of.
So I'll tell you something. This could be love, because I had the time of my life. Though I never felt this way before. Yes, I swear it's the truth, and I owe it all to you, 'cause I had the time of my life, and I searched through every open door till I found the truth, and I owe it all to you. Ooh, baby. Had the time of my life. No, I never felt like this before.
Never felt
Yes,
this
I swear
way.
it's the truth, and I owe it all to you. I had the time of my life. Searched through every open door till I found the truth, and I owe it all to you. 'Cause I had the time of my life. Searched through every open door till I found the truth, and I owe it all to you. Yeah, time of
And there we have it. and really well dealt with, because singing over a backing track, it fades out. And often when people are singing over a backing track that fades out, you can be left with just their vocal singing, and it just sounds like a really bad karaoke session or something. But Bill and Jennifer do really well to actually finish the song quite naturally, so you're not really aware too much of the fade out. Obviously, when you're listening out for it, you'll notice that the song just fades out and the vocal stays at the same volume. Another thing is that saxophone solo. Obviously, that's on the backing track, so he's not playing it live, and it's something that when you go from the saxophone solo into that breakdown, that massive drop dynamically that we have, and also we've got the horn section on that original recording that set you up for the most dramatic drop possible. So I've just got the guitar out to show you guys what I mean. When you've got a horn section in the band, if you just let them go for it, it's going to be so open dynamically that when you then drop out, it's going to have that effect. It is going to be dramatic, that change. So the horn section here is all in before we get into that massive drop dynamically. And we've got this. Just quickly, while I got the guitar out, I want to put a spotlight on the chorus hook that we have. That's a synth sound. It almost sounds like bells, but it's a descending run. There is a call and response. So we have... And hopefully you guys know what I'm referring to in that chorus, because it is such a great call and response. And this is the great thing about music, is that just that passage and just those notes put in that order have a certain personality to them, so that when you are playing them, that third line is clearly a response to that first line, to the question that that first line is posing to it. And when we relate this to talking and conversation, it just is the same thing, because music is a conversation and it is a language. So it means that when you are talking to someone, and I always think of an adult talking to a child and maybe telling them off and saying, "What are you doing?" And the child says, "Oh, I was just doing this or doing that." The response is a lower pitch. Go from, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I was just doing that." And it's submissive. And that's exactly what that sounds like. Obviously, it's not words, but it's the same way our brain interprets the information. Exactly the same way. If I went like this... that is a totally different answer to the question. If anything, it's sounding like it's another question, and it might be an argument with the first line rather than a response to the first line. And again, relating it to conversation and language, when you ask somebody questions, and in the case that we had before, "What are you doing?" "I wasn't doing anything!" And the response might be higher because it's more aggressive, and it's now not accepting that initial question, and it's almost like an argument. So there are so many things that you can say with notes. I don't want to get into too many details, but where we are in the song at the moment, we've had this dramatic drop dynamically, and it's just a couple of vocals now with a very soft keys sound going on in the background, and we've got a final chorus to come. So somehow we need to get back up to the top of that mountain, right to the peak for the end chorus. But how do we do that from such a quiet place? And we go back to that horn section. And even easier than that, we are given the steps. We are literally given a staircase back up to that peak. And the stairs sound like this. It's literally a staircase to the top, played with the horn section because it is so dramatic, with a heavy drum fill over the top. But as soon as you have that lead up, and you've climbed each one of those steps, you're now back in position. So throughout this composition, we've got that funky bass line going on, the syncopated bass line and rhythm guitar, the chops that are coming in the left channel, and then in the right channel as well. There's constantly hooks being thrown in here. There are so many different elements to this song instrumentally, and it's just so well played across the board with the saxophone solo as well. Once you add in the top vocal quality that we have here, you've got all the ingredients you need to have a massive hit. And it just so happens that there was a film that was perfect, and the lineup that they chose for this song, Bill and Jennifer, were perfect to really marry the sound of the song with the movie. So it was just a perfect match. Also, throughout this composition, if you were to look at it like a graph dynamically, we start at the bottom and then we go a little bit higher into the pre-chorus, then we get to the peak in the chorus, we come back down again, pre-chorus, we go up a little bit, chorus, we hit the peak again, then we come down a little bit, then we get to the peak again for the saxophone solo, and then we go all the way down, probably the lowest that we've been since the first verse, for this Medley bridge, which is just the chorus but really quiet. And then we've got that dramatic step up to the peak again for the end chorus, and we're now at a peak. So you can imagine what that graph would look like. It's gradually going up and then coming down, gradually going up and then coming down and then going up and then coming down a really long way and then gradually going up for that peak. So as a journey, it is spot on, and once you start to take notice of the dynamic journey that you go on throughout a song, you'll see that all of the top hits have this same formula. They're always taking you somewhere different. They're very rarely having the whole band playing all the time throughout the whole 4-minute song. There's always elements dropping out in verses and then coming back in for the chorus. But I don't want this video to go on for too long. It always tends to happen when I get the guitar out and start explaining things musically, and there's so many cool things going on here as well. And that's aside from the talent, because you could just look at these two guys sing all day because of their vocal talents and abilities. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!